I'm such a sucker for those type of very introspective, deconstructed cape stories, and Beta Ray Bill Argent is definitely a stellar example of that. There's just something comforting about seeing these gods of modern day mythology struggle with very human and familiar issues that we go through ourselves. Beta Ray Bill Argent is a short and bittersweet 5-issue miniseries by Daniel Warren Johnson and Mike Spicer, published back in 2021. The story spins out from the King in Black event, which is this whole thing with Venom and symbiote lore that I won't talk about here, and follows Bill on a life-changing field trip in search of himself, I guess. In this video, we'll have a look at how this miniseries refreshed a classic character through an exploration of his internal struggles. Spoilers ahead. We'll start with a little bit of catch-up on what's the deal with Beta Ray Bill. Bill's been in Marvel Comics since his first appearance in the early 80s and has since appeared in a lot of different stories in various forms of media, even having a small reference in the Thor Ragnarok movie. He's usually a secondary character in more Thor-centric stories, either as a foil or as an ally to the God of Thunder. This series presents Bill in a more contemporary context while still keeping the classic beats that makes him him, retreading familiar and important points in Bill's history in a new light. I would say that Argent is pretty friendly for new readers and those who've never read any Beta Ray Bill stuff. I haven't, because it sprinkles all the important parts of Bill's origin story here and there just to get you up to date. We learn that Bill is a Corbinite from the planet Corbin, where a long time ago, the fire demon Surtur came to destroy its star system in an attempt to harness enough energy to forge the Twilight Sword, a very powerful magical artifact that he plans to use to bring upon the events of Ragnarok and destroy the universe. So a group of Corbinite scientists devised a plan to hopefully defeat Surtur before he can do that. This plan involved taking a Corbinite child, Bill, and putting them through a series of horrible body augmentation and modification procedures that turns them into this super powerful cyborg warrior made to defeat Surtur and save the planet. Unfortunately, that plan kind of burnt down in a heaping pile of fire. Surtur destroyed Corbin, and all of its inhabitants, except for Bill, managed to survive, leaving him with major survival's guilt. Flash forward some unspecified amount of time after that, Bill came across Thor. They went through the classic they fight for a bit then they're mates, during which Bill found out that he was worthy of wielding Thor's hammer Mjolnir. And since Thor's not much of a sharer, Odin made Bill his own magical hammer, Stormbreaker. Stormbreaker was enchanted so that it can change Bill back and forth between his cyborg form and his Corbinite form. From here, Bill just kind of floats around with the Asgard gang, going on adventures and even grew close to Lady Sif. Now the story of Argent picks up way after this. It's set some time after this part in, again, King in Black, where Bill had another scrap with Thor, but this time it ended with Thor smashing Stormbreaker to bits, leaving Bill without his most prized possession and unable to turn into his Corbinite form. Oofed. From here, we follow Bill and his ragtag crew, made up of Skurge the Executioner, Pip the Troll, and Skuttlebutt, his AI-turned-android companion, as they take on a textbook fetch quest. The TLDR is that Bill needs a replacement for Stormbreaker, and according to Odin, the only other weapon magical enough is Surtur's Twilight Sword. So they went to the deepest level of Muspelheim, aka Space Hell, where Bill had a fistfight rematch with Surtur. This time though, Bill came out victorious, stole the Twilight Sword, and used it to magic himself back into his Corbinite form. For what seems to be permanently, I think. It wasn't quite clear. The premise and plot are pretty basic, but it's not really a bad thing. It really lets the dialogue and character work shine through, as we slowly discover more about Bill and follow him through his neat little arc. Issue 1 starts with Bill failing to protect Asgard against an attack by a symbiote Fin Fang Foom. Again, long story. Thor appears and quite literally stole Bill's thunder by saving the day without even breaking a sweat. When confronted by Thor about his defeat, Bill responds quite passive-aggressively that it would have been easy if he had his old weapon back. This is the first instance in which we see Bill feeling less of himself, attributing his misfortune to his loss of Stormbreaker, which, to be honest, isn't completely baseless, but at the same time it doesn't quite tell the entire story. In the same issue, we then see a private scene between Bill and Lady Sif where things were starting to heat up between them after the battle. Sif is waiting for Bill to transform into his Corbinite form before they go any further, to which Bill explains to her the current situation with Stormbreaker and how he is unable to change forms. Sif then responds with a dejected, "Oh." And Bill says that he understands, he is not blind, and leaves. These two events are the straws that finally broke Bill's back. The tipping points that ultimately led him to leave Asgard on a mission to, as he puts it, make himself beautiful again. Bill's main struggle comes from his perception of beauty and self-worth, which is very much tied to Stormbreaker, making it less of a weapon, but more of a crutch. Bill hates the way he looks on the outside. As is probably obvious by now, a side effect of his transformation into the super powerful cyborg warrior is that his face looks like that of a horse now. He's big and buff, sure, but he's got this long face and a permanently open cheek, and teeth at the front of his snout, like a horse. Bill doesn't feel comfortable in his own body, and much prefers to be in his Corbinite form that Stormbreaker allowed him to turn into. Bill saw his transformed cyborg form as a constant physical reminder of his failure to save his planet and his people. A reminder of how he's never good enough, not even good enough to do the one thing he was literally made for. A reminder that he cannot escape from, as it haunts every reflective surface that he comes across. Throughout this series, we see other characters telling Bill how beautiful he is on the inside. In issue 4, we see a flashback of Bill's mom telling him that she can see inside of Bill, that he is a strong and selfless warrior. This also happens to be the last time they ever spoke before the attack. We also see Scuttlebutt telling Bill he is radiant, that he never needed a hammer or a sword to prove it. But Bill retorts with, "I wish I could believe that, but I've never felt that inside. I wish I could see it, but I can't." Bill is so clouded and tunnel-visioned by his quest for beauty that he actively ignores what is right in front of him for something that he does not have. Bill is a character who is first and foremost defined by his heart, despite his unfortunate exterior. Although unclear what this worthiness truly entails, it is usually taken as shorthand for good, honorable, or pure of heart, and has been the cornerstone of Bill's characterization over the decades. This idea of worthiness, however, will soon be challenged as Bill and the gang journey further into Muspelheim. In the deepest level of Muspelheim, they were met by Surtur guarding the Twilight Sword. Surtur explains how he's lost the ability to wield Twilight because it no longer sees him as being worthy of it after he was defeated in a fight, paralleling Bill's own loss of Stormbreaker. Twilight, however, is an instrument of pure destruction, a weapon born out of tragedy, which seems to require some sort of combat or an act of destruction to seek out the most powerful and ambitious, whereas Mjolnir and Stormbreaker seems to seek out the righteous and pure of heart. When Bill finally defeated Surtur with the power of friendship and a giant gun, he King Arthured the Twilight Sword and chopped off Surtur's head. Surtur's last words being, "The sword, it agrees with you, Corbinite," which seems to affect Bill. He fears the implication that wielding the very weapon created through the destruction of his people and home bring. Bill got the beauty that he sought, but with that came the knowledge that he was deemed worthy by Twilight when even Surtur was not. At the end of the story, Bill seems to reach the resolution and fulfilled his character arc. He defeated his nemesis, found a new magical weapon, and changed back into his Corbinite form, and even found what seems to be a possible new love interest in Skuttlebutt. So he should be content, right? He got everything he wanted, fixed his problems, and gotten rid of all semblances of his past failures. But he doesn't seem happy. After his transformation back, he's noticeably more subdued and quieter. He constantly stares off into the distance, lost in thought. For someone whose thing was that they are worthy of Mjolnir and is pure of heart no matter what they look on the outside, Bill's found himself in a position where he's now become the opposite of his thing. He's been so stuck on this idea of wanting to be beautiful on the outside that he's only just realized that he might no longer be beautiful on the inside.